you're probably not at the place that you thought you were. And even if you are, eventually through the growth journey, you will hit that place where you're not where you think you are, and it's gonna suck. And then it's about, do you believe in yourself enough to keep going?
It's this constant, kisses on the cheek, punches on the face on the other side, and life is going to keep doing that to all of us. But your new best can be better than your old best because you can better your best. And your new worst, eventually, if you stay long enough, your new worst becomes better than your old best, and that's a really cool place.
Next Level Nation, welcome back to another episode of Next Level University, where we help you level up your life, your love, your health, and your wealth. We hope you enjoyed yesterday's episode number 1682, What's Vulnerable for You Isn't Vulnerable for Everyone. Today, for episode number 1683, here's why getting better is so hard. Before we jump into this episode, as of today, we crossed the 1 million listen mark. So I wanted to give a shout out to each and every one of you who has been listening for however long, whether it's been 7 years or 7 seconds. We are grateful for each and every one of you. And yeah, 1 million. Crossed 1 million listens today.
It's wild.
Wild. Who knew? Who knew? You knew, but I didn't know.
That means that there was 1 million times where someone gave us the honor and the privilege to speak into their lives. And the 170 countries thing, that's wild because I think about it from the historical frame of 30 years ago, that was impossible.
It's fair.
Like radio stations back in the day, it was only a frequency within a certain geographically. I saw a YouTube video.
You're going off the rails here or no?
A little bit, slightly.
Okay, just
real quick.
Yep.
I saw a YouTube video recently. I always do these interesting researches, and it was a Steve Jobs video when he first announced podcasts. Did I send you that?
Mm-mm.
It was the first time he ever did what is it called a demo. It was the first time he ever did a demo live on stage of a podcast. It was really cool. And it was like, wow. I think that was like 2005?
No, before that.
I don't know, man. Maybe 2002 then? It was in the 2000s. I know that.
Just because he did a demo didn't mean podcasts didn't already exist, right?
Yeah. Well, it was the iTunes. It was the first time iTunes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So
interesting.
That was really cool. And yeah, so the idea of speaking into the lives of people from all over the world, 170 plus countries, is just awesome. It's unbelievable. It's something that was impossible pre-internet. So I don't take that lightly. Thank you all so much. And I say this when I go on other shows. I say, thank you so much for the platform. I think it's a really big deal when you get the opportunity to speak into the lives of other people. I remember 9 years ago when I first started getting into personal growth and personal development, I remember listening to podcasts, and it really has changed my life so much. So I don't take that lightly. Kev, I know you don't either, and
Nope.
I never want to either. That's the thing. You got to keep that in mind because at this stage we've done so many episodes and we've been on so many shows, and you just never want to take it lightly because you never know who's listening, and the impact long-term can be massive because that one little shift, that one next level lesson or next level nugget, that one breakthrough, that one understanding of self-belief versus self-worth can change absolutely everything. So I want to remember that every single time before we jump on the mic.
2 kids from a small town doing it.
Trying.
We're doing it. We're not trying, we're doing it. Get that negativity out of here. All right. So here's why getting better is so hard. Back to our regularly. That is a tough word to say. Are you all right?
Yeah, I
Need a little jaw massage.
Need a little jaw massage, yeah.
Okay. Regularly scheduled programming is a very tough thing to say. Here's why getting better is so hard. Logic versus emotion. Logically, so I went for a run yesterday. Okay? And I'm a little nervous to share how terribly it went. Honestly, it wasn't great. Yeah, I downloaded the Under Armour app and everything.
Nice.
Yeah. Wasn't great. So, logically...
Can I guess?
Yeah. It's going to be worse than you think.
7:30.
No, God, no. We're talking like 9:50.
No way.
Yeah. I mean, this is the first mile I've run in a long period of time, so I was definitely slow out of the gate. I would say
been walking, man.
my second half was much faster than my first.
I don't want to be.
No,
like
you're
that.
good. I
Congratulations.
literally,
Strong work.
thanks so much, but not really. I had a moment after where I looked at it where I said, oh, wow, that's not good. That's not great for me. For me, again, if you've never run a mile in your life, go run a 10-minute mile. Awesome. Strong work. But for me, I'm supposed to be an athlete. I identify as someone who's an athlete. And it wasn't good. So I took a little rest after, and I was like, let me try to run another one. I'll run another mile and see if I can do it in faster timing. And then I was like halfway
You did
through.
this in the same day?
Yeah. I was like halfway through, and I was like, Kev, why are you doing this? What are you doing? You're going to stop and then try to run a faster mile for the second one after you stop? Like, it probably just doesn't make that much sense to do. So I ended up like stopping halfway, and I was like, let's save some for another day. Like, we're not going to accomplish the mission today. Just run a mile and then come back and we'll run a mile in a couple days, and that's how we're going to improve. Excuse me? I heard that little laugh under your breath. All right. Go on.
It's just nice because we always talk about weight training where you're stronger than me.
Yeah, no, I'm not as good.
So now we're talking about running miles, man.
Yeah, I'm not as good.
We got to
at
run.
running.
We'll do a little running together. It'll be fun.
You got those long giraffe legs.
You know it.
Look at these little wee stems. Okay, can I do it?
Mm-hmm.
You let me make the point of the episode?
I would appreciate it.
I've been waiting on it.
I had a little chuckle.
Many chuckles. Many little chuckles.
Slight.
That's going to be your new
slight.
nickname. Many little chuckles. The reason getting better at something is so hard, you get worse at it first. You get the if you want to get better at something, you must first understand with awareness how not good you are. And that's why it's so challenging. Logically, I had the moment where I said, okay, whatever. It's not, yeah, cool. I ran a mile, and was it as good as I wanted it to be? Definitely not. But let me come back every 3 days for however many months, and let me see how that progresses. Emotionally, the reason I wanted to run another mile faster is because I was like, there's no way that's my maximum capability. There's no way that's all I can do. I could do better than that. Emotionally, it sucks to suck at something. Logically, why wouldn't you suck at something you haven't done before or something you've done in a long period of time? We're at a very unique age where I don't really care how old I am. I don't really think about it. It doesn't really matter that much to me. But we're in our mid-30s now, and things are just different than they used to be in terms of, let's say, weight loss or how easy it is to put on muscle, that type of stuff. In the beginning, it wasn't really that hard to get better at certain things.
Mm-hmm.
But you lose sight of the fact that maybe those are just the things that you're, for lack of better phrasing, gifted in. One of the reasons it's really hard to get good at stuff is because before you ever get good, you must first admit that you're not. And that it can be really, really challenging to do that. And I don't know. I don't know if the normal... I can't really ask you because you're good at most things, so your journey isn't necessarily the same. Do you think it's bad to think you suck at something before you do it? As long as you go through and actually do it?
I think is the most optimal thing to think prior to doing something. I'm writing a blog about this right now. It's called The Learning Loop. I talked about this on the last episode. I think the most important thing is to be as accurate as possible because then it won't be as devastating.
Yeah.
If you think you're way worse than you really are, you might not even try. If you think you're way better than you are, you're going to be devastated. You won't continue. I talk often about people out there who have commented to Kevin and I of what we should and shouldn't do in business or should and shouldn't do in podcasting, and these aren't podcasters or business owners. So it's very easy for them to say that. And I think there's a level of arrogance to that where I'm not going to go up to a professional fighter and say, hey, you should really consider grappling differently. I don't really know what I'm talking about with fighting, so I don't do that.
I love the fighting references lately. I'm in.
Well, it's a good metaphor. It's a really good metaphor, especially when it comes to humble pie because you got to stay humble with that. I'm also super excited to get into a little bit of martial arts. That will be within the next 2 to 5 years. It's not necessarily going to be tomorrow. But I think being as accurate as possible is key. I think everyone thinks they're smarter than they are or less intelligent than they really are. It's all contextual based on the environment because no one has a 360-degree accurate view of self. If you're in a room of 7-year-olds, you're going to feel really smart. If you're in a room of geniuses, you're going to feel really dumb. It's just, and feel is the key there. You're not dumb or smart. You're just in a room of 7-year-olds or in a room of geniuses. And so it's all relative. And I think, how do you keep an accurate self-concept? That's the question. How do you keep an accurate identity? Even you right there, I'm an athlete. Well, not in running, man.
I thought I would do better than I did. Man, that's.
I thought you would too. Yeah, that's why I guessed 7:35.
I could tell. Remember when I tried to run a 6-minute mile and I almost died? You think I just casually can run a 7:35 after not doing 7:30 after not running for 7 years?
Yeah, that's a great point. You know what's interesting though? 7:30 versus a 6 is an exponential difference.
Yeah,
I need you to make that, dude. That minute and a half matters.
Yeah, well,
a lot
for sure.
That's a whole lap.
There's no way. I don't know. I'm curious to see how long it'll take me to run it. Here's the other thing, too. And again, I did worse than I think. That's baseline here. I didn't know how the app worked, so I downloaded like the Under Armour running app because I was like, I want to know how far I'm running. And when I started running, I looked, and all it said was time and distance. But then it would like jump between the amount of time you've run and the distance you've run. And I was like, oh, it's not going to tell me what I'm on pace for.
Yeah.
So then I put my phone in my pocket, and then when I looked, when I was like halfway, it said on pace for, and I was like, oh no. If I knew that going in, I probably could have leveraged that better.
And sped up.
Yeah, I could. I wasn't running at my maximum speed. I was running at what I thought was going to be a decent time.
Well, a couple things.
Yeah, let's talk about running.
Running is a great analogy. It's a
for
really good metaphor. You went in thinking you'd do what? 8-minute mile? Is that fair?
No, I was like, if I could do a 9, I'm going to aim for a 9. I feel like 9 is reasonable. It shouldn't be super challenging. I can do a 9-minute mile for sure.
Okay, and what did you end up doing?
Like 9:50.
Okay, cool. So you did a 9:50, and the delta between expectation and reality was emotionally devastating. No, it was emotionally challenging.
It sucked. Yeah, it sucked.
It sucked. Okay.
Not devastating, but it sucked.
And that's the point of the episode, which is, believe it or not, your future... This is the weird thing about self-improvement, and this is kind of why we're doing this episode. Self-improvement feels terrible. Terrible is excessive. It feels uncomfortable. It doesn't feel good. So I often talk about how when clients come into my coaching, the moment they're winning, one of my clients just bought a home. The next call is going to be brutal. It's going to be, okay, now what? I'm not... Like, congratulations, awesome. Let's not forget what got us here. It's the work that got us here. Like, whoop-de-doo, awesome, awesome, awesome. I'm very like that. Let's not lose sight of the work that actually created the home. Let's get back to work and climb another mountain. And I've started to create this sort of disclaimer with my coaching. If you don't want that type of coaching, you definitely don't want to coach with me. And I'm at a place now where I'm grateful enough to be able to say, I don't want to coach with you either unless you want to consistently climb.
Next Level Nation, what is happening? If you've thought to yourself, I want to try coaching, but you don't really know where to start, group coaching would be a wonderful place for you. That's really why we created it in the first place. We start a new round every 90 days. So if you're hearing this, go to the website, nextleveluniverse.com, and we have the landing page where you can actually hold your spot right now. Even if there's a group going on right now, you can still lock your spot for the next one. The biggest thing that we've seen is as we get closer and closer to the date, unfortunately, some people end up missing. The group fills up and they can't do it, and then they end up regretting that. So please head over to the website. The link will be in the show notes, and we would love to see you there.
So that said, you go into this mile, you're expecting to do a 9, you end up 9:50. It doesn't feel good, but you getting that humble pie actually is good for you.
Yeah. Assuming you continue running.
And that's why self-improvement is not cool or popular, because I think there's some sort of weird human status thing with, I didn't even have to try that hard. There's something about that. Like, when I could go party all night and still ace all the calculus exams, there was something so cool. It's like a bravado. It's like, he's a genius. that was cool, but I'm actually mad at myself. I wish that I had actually tried. If I got straight A's without trying, can you imagine what I could have done? I'm like mad at that. I could have worked at NASA. I could have gone to MIT. I should have. I was not maximizing my potential. It's not that hard to ace things that are easy. And calculus it's relative. I just happen to be really good at math. But the point that I'm making is, why would you want, if you want to feel good, you're in trouble. Because everything that has to do with climbing meaningful mountains in this metaphor, whether it's running or weight training or jiu-jitsu or Muay Thai or writing a book or starting a podcast or starting a business or doing that side hustle or your career, it's all uphill. Everything worth having is uphill, and climbing uphill just doesn't feel good. But the milestones are deeply meaningful. They're deeply fulfilling. And so how do you constantly seek feedback from a 360-degree place where you're constantly taking action? Because what's going to happen with Kev is he's going to run another mile. He's going to think that he's going to suck, and you're going to actually probably exceed what you thought. You're probably going to go for a 9, end up with an 8:30, and go, oh, okay. And then the next time you go out, you're probably going to end up with an 8:45 and go, what the hell happened?
If you think I'm Usain Bolt or what, but next time I'm going to be aiming for a 9, and I'm going to get a 9. I don't think I'm accidentally going to run an 8:30. That's my guess.
Because when I did fitness shows, I lost the first one, crushed the second one, lost the third one. And if I had done a fourth, I bet you I would have won because of the humble pie that I got from the losses. Yeah. I think that's human nature, and maybe it's different for you, but.
Well, that's why belief is so important, because it would be very easy for me to say, well, running's just not for me. Of course I don't know, is running for anyone who doesn't do it? Really? I feel like you'd have to be so off and say, there's no way I could talk into this microphone and make a sentence make sense, and then you exceed that and say, wow, I'm way better than I thought. I feel like I think most people are better than they think. But not drastically, because I think they also think they're going to do worse than they do. I don't think it's as simple as, what's the best way to explain it? Okay, on a scale of 1 to 10, I feel like I'm going to do a 2. But when I do a 4, it doesn't mean I'm the best in the world. It just means I did a lot better than I thought I was going to do.
But it gives you the self-esteem to go for the next one.
Yes, and that's what I'm trying to get to land with this episode in myself, is I'm not a gifted runner. I'm not someone who can just start running. I'm not Forrest Gump. I'm not going to break any records with running. But why would I expect that I am? Yeah, I do consider myself an athlete, but obviously I'm not as athletic as I thought. The layer of belief that you throw in there and say, okay, it didn't go like I thought it was going to go, but now I have accurate understanding of where I'm actually at. Cool. I really enjoy running. I used to run back in the day. I used to run the town loop all the time. I loved running. I was a huge fan of running. I don't know what happened. I became a bodybuilder and I didn't want to run anymore. So now it's okay, I'm a runner. I did a video on this that I haven't posted yet, but it was, how long does it take you to re-identify as something after you haven't done it for a long period of time? I'm a runner now. I ran.
And the real reason underneath that is you're cutting weight for a jiu-jitsu competition.
Yeah. But I do want to be more athletic. When I'm doing jiu-jitsu, being strong and a bodybuilder is great, but you need a different layer of cardio to do that, and you need different flexibility. And so that goal is forcing me to level up in other arenas. But it's just that. I don't want it to be disempowering. But if you were to ask yourself, if you're disappointed with your performance, why did you expect to perform better? Is it delusion? Is it lack of awareness? Is it lack of understanding? It's okay to get humbled that way. It just means your awareness was off. That's all. Mm-hmm. That's really all it means. It doesn't mean you can't get to the place that you thought you were already at. And that's why growth and getting better is so hard, because when you start, you're probably not at the place that you thought you were. And even if you are, eventually through the growth journey, you will hit that place where you're not where you think you are, and it's going to suck.
Yep.
And then it's about, do you believe in yourself enough to keep going? My first speech I ever gave went drastically better than I expected. The second speech I gave was terrible. Way worse than I expected. If the second speech was my first speech, I don't know if I'd be a speaker. Because I saw both ends of the spectrum in my first two speeches. Wow, I did way better than I thought. I'm the man. This is going to be fine. I don't really have to prep that much. I over-prepped, if anything. Second one, I'll just do 5 flashcards and I'll crush it. No, went bad. Went real bad. I had the kids do push-ups because I had to fill my time. Not good. Not good.
You had one of the kids do your speech.
Wanted to be a speaker.
You want to be a motivational speaker?
He wanted to. He said, I'd love to be a speaker. Come on up. I got a microphone and nothing to say, so you're up. You're up, my friend.
Panic move.
But I got to see both ends of that. I got to see what it's like when you're better at something than you expect, and I got to see what it's like when you're not as good at something as you expect. I think the answer is the same. You try to do it again. And every time you do it, I think you get more and more accurate, and then you're able to set a new, realistic, aligned goal, and then you end up in the right challenge skills sweet spot, and it's this whole thing. So, go ahead.
The last thing I want to share on this is, in my blog I'm writing right now, it's not published yet, I talk about how we all want to make intelligent choices. But the irony of that, the paradox of that is, the only way to become intelligent is to go try things and screw them up. It's like when you're... Okay, the only way to become more intelligent, ironically, is to go be wrong a bunch. It's like this weird thing where you can read a book on how to do sales. And then you go and you try to sell, and what's going to happen, Kev?
You're not going to know what to do, most likely. It's probably going to go worse than you think, unless... Yeah, it's most likely going to go worse than you think.
It's going to go worse than you think. And you're going to get 3 out of 100 people to buy your product or service. And then eventually you're going to get 6 out of 100. And then eventually it's going to be 12 out of 100. And eventually it's going to be 30 out of 100. And you're going to get better and better and better. But only because you learn through failure. But the problem is if you can't handle the emotional failure, you're going to stop that learning journey. The podcast game, we have made so many mistakes. We actually have gotten to a point now, and I got to be careful of even saying this, because when I say this, something's going to go wrong. But we've gotten to a point now where we don't make that many big mistakes. The other day, I was 115 episodes into the Conscious Couples podcast. I didn't hit record on the audio. We did the video, and we finished the episode, and it was on a Sunday at 9 o'clock at night. And Emilia and I had to re-record the whole thing because I did an audio test and I never hit record. That is I've done 1,683 episodes of NLU, 114 at this point, Conscious Couples. I've done this for 7 years and I still completely forgot. And we had to re-record the whole thing at 9:30 at night on a Sunday. She was frustrated, understandable. And the same thing has happened with her because she's in charge of the camera. She forgot to hit record on the camera. The SD card wasn't reformatted. The point is we want to grow, right? We want to become more capable, but we don't want to feel bad about ourselves. And we have these identities of I'm an athlete, I'm intelligent, I'm XYZ. So we protect our ego, our identity from any feedback that you're an athlete, you don't want to go prove to yourself. It's uncomfortable for you to be like, wow, apparently I'm not that athletic. That doesn't feel good.
You don't want to prove to yourself that you're not.
Exactly.
And
so
by
not
what doing, you prove to yourself that you are.
Exactly.
By this,
This is why walk matters so much more than talk. And the very last thing I'll share, because I know we got to jump here, is I've come to understand humility as a state versus a part of your being. I no longer gauge humility when someone's down and out. It's actually when they're winning that you can see how humble someone is. Kev came back from a live event once thinking he was the man.
I was the man.
You were the man.
At the
I don't know
time.
if you know this, but I just came back from an event and I belonged and I am the man. And you learn humility. I used to think people were humble. And some people are. So I don't mean that to come off wrong. But there's certain people I can think of that weren't actually humble. They just don't believe in themselves.
Yep.
And then when they start to win in coaching, and they would start to win, they start to succeed, they would lose their humility. And I would go, oh, so life has not smacked you down once you were up, because if you don't stay humble, you're going to get humbled. And for a lot of people, they spend most of their life without confidence. Not everybody, but a lot of people. And when they do get confidence, you used to articulate it as this. It's like having a weapon they've never used before.
Yeah.
And so all of a sudden it starts spraying everywhere, and it gets out of control, and you can always tell. So now my true gauge of humility, for myself included, by the way, is how centered can I stay when I'm winning? Not when I'm losing. It's not hard to stay humble when life is ripping you a new one. It's hard to stay humble when you're succeeding and when everything's working out and when you're getting clients. I got 3 clients last week. I had to say, Alan, stay humble. It's not easy when the fish are jumping in the boat. That's not always going to be the case. So don't get a big head here. You need to stay centered. And again, we're all guilty of this pendulum that swings, but hopefully there's some takeaways there for everybody where we don't want to prove ourselves wrong. And unfortunately, because we're so afraid to prove ourselves wrong, we don't end up proving ourselves right. So every time you take an action or lead by example or walk your talk, you're basically risking your delicate ego. And the people who take action consistently usually are the most humble, because they're just constantly getting the feedback of, oh, I'm better than I thought. Ooh, apparently not. I'm better than I thought. Oh, I'm better than I thought. I'm even better than I thought. Oh, definitely not. It's this constant, kisses on the cheek, punches on the face on the other side. And life is going to keep doing that to all of us. But your new best can be better than your old best, because you can better your best. And your new worst, eventually, if you stay long enough, your new worst becomes better than your old best. And that's a really cool place.
I think belief is very similar to humility, where one of the reasons it's so hard to get better at something is when you first start, you have the least amount of belief. And that's also when you're the least good.
Oh, brutal. Brutal.
Where if I went out, imagine if I went running with 5 other people and I smoked everyone. It's not, and then next time it's like, I'm going to go do it again. It doesn't mean I have that much belief. It means last time it went really well. Belief, same thing. I think belief is measured when you're down and out and you don't know how you're going to do it. That's a different level of belief.
Yeah.
That's it. Because I've had those moments where we've gotten a ton of clients and I can't even handle how many clients we have. I believe in myself a ton.
How'd that go? Pretty good?
I mean, it went well. It went well.
Yeah.
But
how hard is it to stay humble in those moments?
It is. It's hard. Yeah, it's not easy.
Yeah, you have to really work on it.
You have to focus on the negative. No, I do too. Yeah, I do too. And I've had moments where we'll lose a big client, and I have that moment of like, wow, can I do this? I have that quick moment of like, can I actually do this? It's way quicker than it's ever been.
And then what happens? You lose 3 more? And it's like,
sometimes.
Oh. Yeah.
Yeah, so I've had weeks where it's like that, where it's like, well, at least I know what the downside of this week's going to be. And then it's like, oh no, there's more. It goes further down if you keep existing as a human. Interesting episode. If
Big
you
fan.
What's that? Big fan?
Big fan.
Yeah. If you feel like getting better is hard, and the reason that you're feeling that way is because you think you should be better than you are at the thing, you're weak before you're strong. It just is that way. It's the awareness you get when you go to do something. When you go to the gym to get stronger, you understand how weak you actually are. Now, again, maybe in some transcendent land, you can say, maybe you'll be stronger than you thought. I don't know. But I like to prepare for the fact that might not happen, because if it does happen, you're playing with house money. If you go to the gym and you feel weaker than you thought, that's when we have to dig in and say, you know what? This doesn't mean anything about me. This is just the beginning of the journey. I'm capable of changing all this, and eventually I will be as strong as I thought I would be coming in today. All right. Next Level Nation, private Facebook group for like-minded humans like yourself. Book club every Saturday at 12:30 Eastern Standard Time. The Psychology of Money by Morgan Housel is what Alan is doing in there right now. And then next Thursday, we have a meetup. What is it? How to level up your money.
Correct.
So we're going to be talking about money in that. Our meetups are every first Thursday of the month, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. They are totally private, not recorded. It's behind the scenes where we can go a little bit deeper. So if you're interested, we'll have the link in the show notes for that. Tomorrow, for episode number 1684, Freestyle Friday. As you know, we don't know what Freestyle Friday is going to be until we know what it's going to be, and we don't know what it's going to be because it's not Friday yet. As always, we love you. We appreciate you. Grateful for each and every one of you. And at NLU, we don't have fans. We have family. We will talk to you all tomorrow.
Stay humble. Next Level Nation.